Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about this week's TV news. And it's not actually, I would say, bigger than normal, but it's notable in that this is the post SDCC, the Comic Con entourage of trailers and tidbits and things. Mostly just trailers, honestly. Everything else is just the regular news cycle, but the trailers all came from Comic Con, so there's a big list of them. I'll make sure there's a big list of links in the description so you can all check them out if you've not had a chance to. So all the ones we talk about, there'll be links in the description below. So yeah, we talk about the news, and we also use this to give you any updates on stuff that's happening on the channel, things like that, and also pick our favourite episode of TV of the week. Although right now that's again not a lot to pick from right now because it's summer.
Yeah, I think I have, two things to choose from? You have one.
I didn't just. Well, no, technically Ozark was counting because we did that since the last news.
Okay, yeah. No, I forgot Ozark existed.
So that's the thing. So yeah, we did episode 1 of Ozark that launched on Netflix last week. We didn't like it enough to keep going with it. It wasn't like terrible, but we were very mixed on it. So if you want to check out a review, that you can do that. That's there to check out. So that was new this week, and I seem to have got into a habit of just telling you what's coming next week, but with that as a pairing. So I'm just going to keep doing that. It feels natural. That was last week. This is next week. So what's coming next week? We do have a pilot actually that technically has already aired, although we won't be covering it until later this weekend, probably late Saturday, I would imagine. But that is Room 104, which is the new Duplass Brothers comedy from HBO. Yeah, so it's a comedy, so it'll only be one and done. Even if we like it. That said, this one's sounding weird, and it sounds like each episode's fairly standalone. So we'll see how we feel once we actually.
Yeah, because it's an anthology thing anyway. We knew that already, but some of the early talk has made it sound very experimental.
Yeah. So the early. Yeah. So when we have a look at the episode, we'll see what it's like. But even before that, we knew that it was a comedy set in a hotel where it just focused on this one hotel room. So the idea is that every episode's a different set of guests. So there's different characters every episode doing different things. So now we'll be checking that out. Also, coming next week, we have the pilot for The Sinner from USA Network. That's on Wednesday night, so you can expect a pilot review of that. Jessica Biel's in that. Don't know much more about it beyond she commits a very violent act and she doesn't remember it and she's trying to figure things out. So that's coming next week. We'll see how that is. Also coming next week, very very quickly, given how recently it was announced. But we have Comrade Detective launching on Amazon next Friday. That is the comedy which is done as if it was recorded in Romania, and then it's been dubbed by Channing Tatum and Joseph Gordon-Levitt along with Nick Offerman. So it's intentionally supposed to be this cheesy old thing that's been dubbed with American actors, and it more than that in a little bit because we got a trailer at Comic-Con. So there you go. So that's what's coming next week in terms of new stuff and all the usual stuff. We ended up taking a week off from the leftovers after the season 1 finale. It wasn't really planned, but it kind of worked out anyways because it was like the end of a season. The first episode of season 2 is already up for the patrons because they get those episodes a week early. For everyone else, episode 1 will be coming midweek, so you can look forward to that. There you go. I think that's everything. That's everything coming next week. So without further ado, let's get on to the news. So, a couple of quick things. First, in terms of renewals, one which is leaving me scratch my head in absolute bewilderment. The other's good news. So the first is that TBS has renewed Angie Tribeca for our season 4.
How is that still? I don't understand how it still exists.
I feel like we did the pilot for that like 6 months ago, and it's season 4.
I don't understand.
It wasn't really. I think it was like a year and a half ago, and they did like 2 seasons really close together. We looked into this a while ago.
Yeah, but I think it was the start of 2016. They did 2 seasons in 2016.
But it feels super quick. It feels like we're already talking about a season 4. Now, normally I wouldn't keep bringing up these comedies that we've ditched, but this one was so bad and we hated it, and I saw the headline and I'm like, oh shit, I'm putting that in.
You can't not mention every time it gets renewed because there's that moment of, why?
Yeah, so
who is watching this?
So in a month's time when it's got renewed for season 7, we'll talk about it again then, and we'll go from there. So
it does genuinely feel like about a month since you told me that season 3 was coming.
Yeah, so there we go. But the happier news is that Wynonna Earp has been renewed for season 3. It's sci-fi.
Oh, that's good.
So that's good. We like that show. So that's good news. But yeah, let's get to trailers. So we've got a big list of trailers to talk about. We have the list in the description, as I said below. So let's start big. Let's start with Stranger Things Season 2, which got a new trailer for Comic-Con. A lot more of what's going on in this trailer, much bigger trailer than the last teaser we got.
Yeah, it's a proper trailer this time.
Yeah. A lot of references to the 80s, certainly, going throughout. They're playing Dragon Quest, they're dressed as Ghostbusters, which we knew from before, of course.
Yeah.
And there's various other bits and bobs. We got the thriller music playing as the trailer goes on. And it kind of hints that something big is coming. Although I do feel it's keeping its cards close to its chest.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of the tone of the season, which is a lot more, or it seems to be a lot more focused on the horror.
Yes.
Which makes sense. You know, it's coming at Halloween, the set at Halloween.
I'm pumped for it.
Yeah.
That Vincent Price narration from Thriller is it was tickling my my fancy bone. So it was.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, then again at the end he's laughing over the title. Oh, can't wait. Yeah, not a whole lot of new things. There was just a lot of the tone. There was a lot of like quick cuts of things happening later on. You get a glimpse of most of their season 1 cast and what they're kind of up to. A couple of glimpses of new characters. There's the new redhead girl that's I presume going to be a love interest for one of the kids. You imagine so? Maybe a triangle. You know, cause, since Eleven's away, and of course the trailer ends with the sort of the first glimpse of Eleven and her coming back to our world. But it does certainly seem like the Upside Down is still a big factor. In fact, the stuff that's coming in the trailer, it clearly implies that, you know, we had one monster from the Upside Down last season. It feels like the entire world's going to start trying to come through.
Yeah, there's that great moment in the arcade where it kind of bleeds into the real world. And I'm like, oh yeah, this looks great.
Yeah, it feels like Will's starting to see it before everyone else does. He can tell it's coming because he's got a connection to it, and yeah, it's looking like good stuff. But other than that, not a whole lot to say. I'm excited. Our October's going to be busy as shit, but you know what? All of that busy stuff is all
that's
hype.
it. It's like sometimes when it gets to September, October, it's like, oh, it's busy, but it's not stuff we're excited for. It's stuff that we just have to do.
Yeah, that said, we're definitely not doing as many network pilots this year, so I don't think that pilot season is going to be as rough as it was last year.
No, I don't think so. Last year there was a lot of genre stuff and MacGyver. Yeah, the stuff that we can't not cover, but it makes that we know is going to be shit.
Well, here's something we got our first look at: Westworld season 2 coming in 2018.
Yeah, that's not going to be shit.
No, it's not going to be shit. It's going to be great. Not a whole lot. I mean, again, this was more of a tone trailer. It was like, right, so this stuff's went down in the park. And I'm going to keep this spoiler free. If you've not seen season 1 and you might be thinking of catching up for season 2, you know, I'll keep these all mostly spoiler free. I'll warn you if we need to say something that's going to spoil a past season. But you know, we see the characters sort of witnessing the aftermath of what happened at the end of the first season. We get a sense that, you know, the song's clearly implying, okay, like, you know, we're going to do things our way without going into any more detail. And you've got all this going on, and there's some shots of violence and things like that. Not a whole lot beyond that. All I'll say is the final shot of the trailer.
It's a bit of a fist bump in it.
A certain character smiling.
Yeah.
I did definitely enjoy. Because I think that tells you, if you've watched the first season, I think that character smiling about the circumstances tells you everything you need to know about what's going on.
That's where I was like, a lot of it I was like, okay, that's pretty good, but there's not that much to go on.
Yeah, there's no plot, and I like that. Keep it close to the chest, because honestly, like, season 1 was such a puzzle, and we enjoyed unraveling it.
Right, and then the surprise of it was fantastic. But, you know, it gets to that final moment of the trailer, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great.
He does look happy. So that was Westworld. We get a new trailer for Star Trek Discovery. Now, the last one was a pretty full trailer as well, but this was an even fuller trailer. We got some other characters we hadn't seen yet, such as Harry Mudd, who's in this new show, played by what's his, Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, I'd forgotten he was in it until I saw him. I was like, oh yeah.
He's like, "Are you mad? I'm Mudd."
I love it.
He might be perfect. He might be perfect for
Right,
that role.
yeah. Do you know
Uh,
what? I actually saw a lot of people online hate Harry Mudd, and they're like, Why? He's the worst original series character in existence. Why is he in this show?"
he's not the
And,
worst.
and I'm like,
I
"Yeah,
can
but
find worse.
Rainn Wilson, this is gonna be fantastic."
I'm okay with Harry Mudd being in the show. Um, if I'm going to critique the trailer, I do think like it does feel more like JJ Star Trek than it does like classic Star Trek at
It
this
does.
point. And that might change. Like obviously, you cut a trailer to be exciting. Once we actually see how it plays, what the tone's like, what the pacing's like, what the core conflicts are. Certainly, we've got some sort of Klingon conflict as a big part of this. In fact, a Klingon ship I think is one of the main ships we follow in the
Yeah.
show. So I'm obviously I'm really curious, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad, but it just doesn't necessarily mean it's going to feel like Star Trek. It could just feel like a different sci-fi show with Star Trek
Yeah,
things in it.
yeah. Did you see the news about why Fuller actually left?
I did not see the news why Fuller actually left. No.
So there was these reports came out. I think it was like Entertainment Weekly that it came out from, and it was basically they were talking about how his original pitch was he wanted to do an anthology show where each season would be completely different. It would take place in a different period of time in the Star Trek universe. And they kind of didn't really want to do that. They were like, right, well, they compromised by saying we'll do one show first and then maybe do another show after, and kind of work through it rather than an anthology.
Okay. Okay.
But apparently, as things went on, things set like they wanted a certain director for the pilot, and he wasn't happy, and things soured a bit. Apparently, it actually led to by the end they actually asked him to leave.
Interesting.
Yeah, this all just came out. This I think it was like yesterday. It came out actually.
This is conflicting for me to talk about because honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of Brian Fuller, so I don't know if I'm necessarily upset about this.
No, that's fair.
At the same time, I don't like it when studios meddle, but it does certainly seem from the sounds of it that they had completely different ideas of what their new Star Trek show was going to be. They wanted something. It's actually kind of weird to me that that the studio were the ones wanting the serialized story that kept going.
Yeah, apparently this is a quote from Fuller where he said his original pitch was to do for sci-fi what American Horror Story did for horror. Now I don't really like that show, but just
Yeah, no, I
the
get you.
idea of it.
Don't get me wrong. I do think there's potential in season by season anthology in Star Trek, like kind of like how Fargo does, where it jumps around in the timeline.
Yeah,
I can see that working. I'd have to. I think part of the thing with Star Trek though is that with all the shows, and I say this only really having seen some of two of them, but I really get the sense that you do grow to love the characters over their journey, and they develop and they grow, and I wonder, like, would that make it feel less like Star Trek, or would it?
yeah.
I don't know.
We'll never know now though.
Never say never. I mean, it may not be him, admittedly, but someone else might have that idea down the line.
Yeah,
And plus, you'd think Australia would like that because you think, okay, maybe if season one didn't do as well as we did, we can have a different subtitle every, like season two
Yeah.
would be Star Trek Frontier or something, and like with all new cast, we can market it and it can be fresh. You think they would go for that idea, but
yeah. I mean, for all we know, maybe that's still in the back of their minds. And
maybe.
if this season doesn't go to plan, they'll go right, scrap it. Let's do something else.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe they just like the idea of, yeah, if this goes well, we can have like 2 or 3 shows going on at the same time. You fill out kind of like how Walking Dead has Fear the Walking Dead for the other half of the year.
Yeah, and obviously this is all on their own platform, so they'll go rather than go, hey, we've got one show that you want to watch and pay for. Here's 3.
Potentially. But we'll see how it does. I mean, I'm not sure how it's going. I don't know. I have no idea what their standard for success is going to be here, given that it's their first big thing on their own platform. Like they have to
You
know.
expect you got to know it's going to be lower. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to expect. But I wonder what that number is in their head. Where they're
And
happy.
obviously, it's worth noting they have got a deal with Netflix for the rest of the world, which you assume they're paying a hefty amount for the rest of the world rights for a Star Trek show. You gotta go, right, okay, that's a hefty sum.
It does cushion it, but I still wonder what that number is. I wonder what that barrier for them for this is not disappointing is. I'm
Right,
curious.
and they've got to adjust expectations after the first episode as well, because I think the first one's airing on the regular channel, right?
That wouldn't count anyway.
No, no, but they're gonna see those numbers and then look at the episode two's numbers. They're gonna
Well, yeah,
have
but
to adjust.
you're looking at it the wrong way around. They're not going to look at episode numbers. They're going to look at sign-ups.
That's true. You're right.
They almost don't even care if you watch the whole thing. They just care if you're signing up for the duration of the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's kind of what matters to them. Because it's the
Yeah.
same with Twin Peaks, actually, in Showtime. Twin Peaks' numbers are atrocious in terms of live viewing. They are, like, abysmal. But they had the most sign-ups they've ever had.
Yeah, I know actually a
Just
lot of
before Twin
HBO
Peaks.
shows are like that, where their ratings are actually pretty low, but people pay for the subscription, so
Now on Go on
who
now.
cares?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I mean I'm still I'm not super hyped for the new Star Trek show, but I am certainly interested and curious.
yeah, I'm intrigued.
I'm not put off, I guess, is maybe what I'd say. I'm not put off.
Yeah,
I'm still
we
I'm game.
we got some of the little bits of tidbits about the show from Comic Con that we weren't really aware of before. Spock's sister. Yeah, that was the big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, what about Spock's sister?
Well, I'm going from memory, so I think it was is it the actual the main character that we follow?
Yes, I
Actually-
believe the main character that we follow is Spock's sister on his mother's side.
Yeah, and like obviously people were like, "What? Spock doesn't have a sister," and they're changing it all. But apparently they've said, "Oh, there's good reasons why it was never brought up." And
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
It could fall into prequel territory where it starts to try to connect all these things
it
together.
it feels yeah, and things like mud showing up is fine, but then this is like, is it getting too close already?
We'll see. I mean, can't be as bad as Rogue One. So let's go to the next trailer. We got a new trailer for Defenders. Obviously, that's coming just next month on Netflix.
Yeah, that is soon, isn't it?
That's very soon, so a few weeks. So, actually got Sigourney Weaver in this trailer. She had a lot of talking. She was working with Elektra. We had all the characters. We had banter. Every time Iron Fist opened his mouth, I wanted to punch him. Luckily, what I am looking forward to is I am looking forward to Jessica Jones ripping him to shreds over every single stupid thing he says. I think that will be potentially glorious. Potentially.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So no, but that was pretty much it. There was a lot of bonding. I'm still digging the "Come as You Are" as
Yeah,
their marketing
I
music.
think it was a better trailer. Got a bit more to go on. I got a sense of the show a bit better.
You saw at least one person from all the supporting cast as well. You saw Colleen, you saw Hellcat, you saw other people. There was a bunch. There was a whole montage.
Yeah.
Whole montage.
But it kind of worked better as going, right, this is what the show is for me, rather than, the first one was kind of like, hey, look at them in action.
Yeah. That said, it was missing the hallway fight at the end. There wasn't that big moment at the end. They ended it on a joke rather than going for the big impressive thing at the end.
I feel that's indicative of a lot of Marvel Studios content, though, where a lot of the trailers for, a lot of the films will end on a joke.
No, that's true. That's true.
I mean, just look at the Thor trailer that we just got.
Yeah, but 90% of that's jokes.
No, I know, but I mean, that one just because it's the newest one. But I feel like a lot of their trailers end on a joke.
Yeah, a lot of them do. Yeah, that's fair. But what I'm saying is the first one didn't. The first one had this big, impressive thing to show at the end.
It did, and then
Yes.
Iron Fist.
And then Iron Fist. But no, it's looking solid. So the next trailer we mentioned it earlier on, is what's coming next week. So we're getting very soon to this one. But this is a Comrade Detective. It's debuting next Friday. But we got a trailer, and they actually had Channing Tatum in the trailer. They basically played it as if he was receiving this tape from someone in the mail, and
Yeah, I kind of hope this is how they frame the show.
Maybe they will. I don't know. I don't know. The way it looked, I got the impression this was just a trailer, but yeah, it might be in the show. But he gets the tape and he puts it in, and that's when it goes into the full cheesy, like 70s, 80s style trailer with the cheesy music, and it's like, it's Channing Tatum as, and it's just this guy who looks nothing like Channing Tatum. Joseph Gordon-Levitt as this guy who looks nothing like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then Nick Offerman is the captain. And there's a lot of them like shooting and guns and like saying things that is nowhere near in sync to the whole thing. I am so down. Like that.
It looks kind of glorious.
This trailer scratched an itch.
It was working for me.
I am looking forward to checking this out next Friday. Now it's it's a very unique show. I've never seen a show do this specifically. Obviously, we had Blood Drive recently, which is going for obviously a cheesier tone of a bygone era, but this is something really specific. This is like a cheesy dub movie you got at the video store. That's badly dubbed and is like was originally in Russian or whatever, and is like So I'm down.
I am too, because I think when we heard about this, that whole 3 weeks ago, it was pretty recent. I was kind of conflicted because I was like, okay, it has potential sounding, but I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be good. But then I watched the trailer. I'm like, it just looks fun.
It does. It looks like a blast.
I think it's so self-aware of what it is that it's just going to be fun.
The question is though, can it maintain that for however many episodes? I actually don't know how many episodes it is. I'm assuming 10, but I could be completely
I have
wrong.
no idea.
But yeah, can it maintain that? Will it get old? Is what I'm saying. Well, by episode 5, are we going to be like, okay, this is getting kind of...
Yeah, that's possible.
The joke's worn thin, but we'll have to see how they up themselves and how they amplify it as they go. So, no. So let's move on to the last batch of trailers. These are all the CW/DC shows. I'm just sort of bundling all these together. I don't have a lot to say on most of these. Arrow looks more like Arrow. They're kind of trying to conceal something that the cliffhanger had the last season.
I appreciate that, even though everyone knows, okay, it's not actually happened. I appreciate that they're at least pretending for the sake of the trailer that it might have done.
The funny thing is though, is because of that, I feel like the trailer had less to choose from, so it felt very constrained in what it could show because it was dancing around all these things that it couldn't show. Even though we know they're all going to everything's going to be there, it's just it felt that way. So yeah, Oliver's more of a dad. He's actually interacting with the kids, so we'll see that. It seems to be some Deathstroke in there, and we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, they're what's her face? Laurel is back, although not her, evil twin version of her, and we'll see how that plays out. But it's fine for an Arrow trailer. Flash Season 4. This is probably my favourite of these 4 trailers. Mainly because it was the most creative and it was the most exciting. I feel like all the other ones lacked like a big hook, whereas this one it was like, no, Iris is doing the narration, she's doing the opening monologue, which is different and kind of cool. And then it's like, okay, he's not here, the Flash is gone, which I guess mild spoiler for the end of season 3, but I can't really avoid that one because the whole trailer is about the fact that they're trying to take care of the city on their own. You got Kid Flash and Cisco going out doing their thing, and meanwhile they're trying to get Barry back. They're trying to find a way to get him back, and it's sort of teasing, have they found him? And I'm assuming most of this footage is from the first episode. It feels like it.
These usually are.
But this one in particular felt like it built up to a big cliffhanger at the end, where it's like, oh, did they get him? Is that going to be him? And then it. I felt like this was actually, just in terms of how it was cut as a trailer, this was by far the one that I thought was the most well put together and exciting.
I agree with that. Like you say, as a trailer, it built to something.
I'm not necessarily saying the season itself will be the best out of them, but as a trailer, I think this was the most effective at sort of getting me hyped, because it was like, bunch of things happening. Big giant samurai dude with a magical sword.
It's always fun.
So, that's good. Legend of Tomorrow, it was an okay trailer. It was kind of... honestly, actually, this is the one you could tell they've not filmed as much for, because they use way more clips in this from the past seasons.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think, even though I think The Flash is a better trailer, I think this one... I forget how much I enjoy Legends after this last season. Because, it's been off for longer. So, this trailer goes, do you know what? Yeah, I like this show now. I like these characters. This is fun. And it just gives me that reminder. Yeah.
It looks fine. I mean, I think clearly the first episode back is going to be one of these goofier episodes where it's like a one and done. They've got their overall plot where they're trying to fix time, obviously, but it seems like the first episode is going to be like, oh, here's the fun adventure with a circus.
With Dragon Balls.
With Dragon Balls, whatever.
I'm sorry, that got me. I was hyped. I was like, There's Dragon Balls there, just in the circus pit. What's going on?
No, it was okay. I don't know. It looked like a forgettable episode to
You
me.
didn't even notice, did you?
It looked like a forgettable episode to me. I'm sorry. What do you want from me?
Dragon Balls. That's what I want. I want them to get all the Dragon Balls and make a wish and wish time back to normal.
Why would you make a wish with Dragon Balls?
That's what you do. You collect all the Dragon Balls and then you summon the dragon, and the dragon grants you a wish.
Is this some Dragon Ball Z bollocks you're spouting at me right now?
That's what Dragon Ball is. Yeah, that's the whole point of those shows.
Well, you know what? I'm really glad that I never watched one of them then, because that sounds stupid. Positively stupid. Obviously, there's a tease at the end of who the sort of the main villain for the season is going to be, which I also read in a separate article is actually the sister of the young present day version of Vixen. So it's actually Amaya's granddaughter who's going to be the villain, which is cool. Makes it a bit more personal for her. Give her some conflicting emotions and what's going on. Maybe she'll say, you know what, maybe I should make a point of not having kids. Let's just stop this. Just nip it in the bud right now.
And that's fine. We don't really need the good one of your granddaughters either. She wasn't that great.
Oh yeah, she was a really bad actress, so maybe we can just forget she exists. That's okay. It wouldn't surprise me though if she makes a cameo eventually this season.
I know, but they could just retcon it and go, that doesn't happen anymore.
Aye, Flashpoint.
Exactly, just do it.
Flashpoint. And then obviously lastly we had the trailer for Supergirl Season 3, which... I'm looking forward to Supergirl Season 3. I thought this might have had the worst trailer, though. Just in the sense that it felt just really... It was just like the clips, the stuff they'd shot. I don't think they'd had enough of the action stuff shot. So it felt like they were trying to... They're building up this epic music, right? But all the shots were really normal, just kind of like medium shots.
It's because so much of their action stuff is effects heavy.
It is. Because like, the most exciting shot is Alex, like hangs out of a car and shoots a gun, and even that's not that exciting. It ended on just like a normal shot of Supergirl, like medium shot, just looking like pissed at something. Cut to title, and I was like, that wasn't a concluding shot. There was nothing in that shot.
It was a pretty mediocre trailer.
Yeah,
at best.
I don't think it says anything bad about the season. I just think that they had nothing to show in the trailer. They hadn't shot enough yet. They hadn't finished the effects yet.
I think that's the problem as to when they start shooting versus when Comic-Con rolls around. Because obviously these CW shows, they start later than most, because they don't start till like mid-October, whereas most other shows come back in September. So they actually have quite a while before they're due.
Adrian Pastar's in the show now, so that's nice.
Yeah, and we're getting Cat Grant back as a... I think she's still just a recurring guest, but apparently she's there more.
Recurring, yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So there you go. That's all the trailers from Comic-Con. We can move on to other things. Alright, first up on the regular news, we're actually sticking with the CW stuff here because we got a couple of news tidbits to tack on. First of all, Tom Felton, who's been in The Flash in Season 3 as a series regular, will no longer be a series regular. They basically said he's actually flat out leaving the show, but there's already been footage of him shot and shown in one of the first couple of episodes, so he's at least going to be in one or two till he exits. So presumably he'll have like an actual exit storyline.
Well, I mean, I'm torn because I really like him and I would have liked him to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
But at least he's getting an exit, because obviously he didn't at the end of last season.
No.
So
I'm not that. I mean, I thought it was fun enough last season, but I do think Team Flash inflated a little bit too big, and I'm not that sad to be losing one. And honestly, if you're going to make me pick, it'd be the new guy.
No, I have to go with that logic as well. So it's a shame because I enjoyed him.
And I wonder if that's even the choice, though. I wonder if it's just a case of he has something else.
I think it's more likely he's the biggest one there. He's probably got something else on.
Likewise, with casting news all in the opposite direction, we have a new addition to Arrow Season 6. Michael Emerson's been cast in a mysterious role. Michael Emerson, of course, is known for Lost and Person of Interest. He's actually a really good actor. It's funny because last season I kept joking, Dolph Lundgren, I'm coming for Dolph Lundgren. Like, the rest of the show's going to be shit, but I'm coming for Dolph Lundgren. This is actually a genuinely good actor. Now, admittedly, they might squander him because it's Arrow, but he's actually
he might manage to elevate at least his scenes.
If he's playing the villain, and he might be, just because A, it's mysterious and they like to withhold who their villains are, and B, he's really good at being a villain, he could elevate it a lot. Like, if you've...
Oh man, what if he's vigilante?
Nah, he's not built enough. He's not a fighter. He's the guy you cast as somewhat the Riddler or
Yeah,
something
I
like
know.
that.
I'm just going. They don't care about stuff like that.
I'm telling you, the Vigilante's I've forgotten his name. Who was Iris dating in season 1?
Oh, Eddie.
Yeah, there you go. Eddie. It's Eddie.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. How could I forget?
Or like Jay from Earth 17. Alright, so moving on. Speaking with some casting, The Expanse season 3 has added Elizabeth Mitchell as a guest star. Speaking of people from Lost, she's also from Lost. So I just thought I'd mention that. I thought it was a notable little name getting thrown in there. They did show a trailer for The Expanse, and I initially put it in the list because I didn't watch them yet. And then I watched it and went, "This is all footage from season 1 and 2. Out that goes."
Definitely too early for that.
Definitely too early.
Given the effects have we said
Yeah.
some of the CW stuff's
They-
effects heavy,
they-
that is.
That is coming. They confirmed it's definitely coming 2018, and I'm assuming it'll be early 2018, just to sort of roughly match up, if not slightly later than season 2. But so it seems on track. But yeah.
That's good.
Okay, next up, we have Iron Fist news, and first up, you're going to cheer because I'm going to tell you Scott Buck is not returning as showrunner for the second season of Iron Fist.
Yeah.
However, the new showrunner for season 2 of Iron Fist is Raven Metzner. Now, first of all, he's got a pretty cool name,
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. Here's his previous credits. He has worked as a writer on Sleepy Hollow. Oh, sure, fine.
He was showrunner for Sleepy Hollow, I believe, for the first couple of seasons.
I'll take your word for it. He was also a writer on Heroes Reborn. He was a writer on Falling Skies, which I've never seen, to be fair. And then finally they mention, oh, he also wrote something for Marvel before. He worked on Elektra.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too great when you put it like that, does it?
That Heroes Reborn and Elektra are not things you want to be mentioning when you're talking about those are things I would leave off my resume, is what I'm saying. Those would be gone.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to give him credit. Sleepy Hollow, I thought was really good for that first season and a half when he was in charge until they kicked him off, and because they changed showrunner because the Fox wanted it to go more procedural and he didn't want to. He wanted to stay serialized like it was. So they kicked him off and replaced him, and it was actually quite good up till that point. So I'm positive here, personally.
They ended up changing a main character for the last season as well, if I recall.
Yeah.
So Fox interfered a lot with that one. As far as I'm concerned, my stance with Iron Fist at the moment is absolute shite until proven otherwise.
Oh, definitely.
Unfortunately, we still have to watch it because Defenders things and so on, and connections, and it's part of an overall tapestry. However, Inhumans is looking quite positive for being able to not at least not having to watch all of it if it sucks. And it looks likely that it will suck, but
Glimmer of hope.
innocent until proven guilty. That's all I'm
I
saying.
don't know. That trailer was damnation enough.
Hey, I've seen a bad trailer turn into something gold before.
Yeah, but have you seen a bad trailer with that hair effect?
Hey, CG can be unfinished, alright?
Yeah, okay.
If they're really going to put that on a giant IMAX screen,
Do you know what the worst part is? I believe that they will. Like the fact that I don't go, nah, that can't be it. They'll fix that. Tells you everything you need to know about my expectations for that show.
Alright, let's get on to some meaty news then. So first up, Netflix has given a 20 episode order, which I believe is 2 seasons, because they say the first 10's coming in 2018. So I think that's just 2 seasons rather than the part 1 and 2 of a season. But that's just the way they've worded it. So they've ordered the 20 episodes of a new animated comedy from Matt Groening, of course, created The Simpsons and not Family Guy, Futurama. That was the one I was looking for. Let's not mix those up.
2 F's though. I mean, I'll let you
I
off.
know. I need to go back and finish Futurama actually. I watched a few seasons of it, and I enjoyed what I watched. I just for some reason I lost track. This is called Disenchantment. It comes from, of course, Matt Groening, as I said. It is an adult fantasy about the crumbling medieval kingdom known as Dreamland. The central character is a hard-drinking Princess Bean, her her elf companion Elfo, and her personal demon Lucy. There you go. That's your description.
I'm down. Basically, like all that sounds fun.
I'm not opposed. Admittedly, The Simpsons I've not been into, and I've probably been alive now longer not liking The Simpsons than I have been alive liking The Simpsons, because that's how long it's bloody went on.
That's fair.
So
It's a stupidly long running show.
it is. I mean, I'm not sure how much input Matt Groening has in that show. I mean, I know he's. I mean, don't get me wrong. See him, he is getting a paycheck every single week. He is happy as can be.
I think that says a lot though. Like he doesn't need to do this show.
He doesn't need to do anything ever.
Right,
He's done.
exactly. So he's doing this because he wants to, which typically is a good sign.
Yeah, and Futurama's a better show than The Simpsons, so
Agreed.
why not this be good? So it could be good, could be great. And early
Yeah.
Simpsons was pretty good at the time.
Yeah, I do like that Netflix is playing a bit fast and loose with the seasons. You know, you said, they've ordered 20 and 10's coming, but they're doing something with. They mentioned Voltron this past week, where the next season is a bit shorter, with the aim of reducing the gap between seasons. Just so that so they'll do shorter seasons, but instead of being a full year apart, they might only be 6 months apart. So you get it more often, but you get less of it at a time.
As long as it's written for that length of season, that's okay.
Yeah. Oh no, I think they are. They're not just splitting seasons. They're going right. It's still calling it season 3 and season 4 or whatever. But it will actually.
But as long as the writers still rate it in that fashion, as long as they still rate it, this is a complete season with an ending. That's okay. If not, if they still rate it as just one season and just call it season 3 and 4, then we have an issue.
Right.
But that's okay. I still think that'll be a year apart, these two, though. 10 episode season seems quite fair to have.
Yeah,
yearly.
probably.
Especially since more and more Netflix shows seem to be being slightly over a year. I feel like most of them now are slipping beyond a year in terms of and not by much. We're talking like 14 months instead of 12.
Yeah, but over when you get to like season 4, you notice the slip.
You notice you've like skipped a year somewhere, and you've not really. It doesn't feel like you've had an extra year at any point. It's just it keeps nudging, and eventually you've noticed you've covered more time. All right, sticking with one more comedy. ABC is developing a single camera Bollywood comedy from the Mark Gordon Company. It's untitled for the moment, and it'll be inspired by the true life story of Indian actress and global icon Madhuri Dixit, who's also going to executive produce it. And just because I know you want to hear me do this, Dixit, praised for both her acting and dancing skills, made her film debut in Aboda in 1984 and went on to establish herself as a leading actress of Hindi cinema with films such as Ram Lakhan, Parinda, Dil, Sajan, Beta, Kalniak, Hum Aapke Hain Kun, Raja, and Dil to Pajal Hai. She also received critical praise for her work in dramas Anjam, Meretchiland, Pukar, Laja, and Devdas.
So I've heard of one of them. Dill, I think. Like
D-I-L, Dill.
Yeah. I was talking about Bollywood in work with some colleagues the other day. Customer came up and started talking about it for whatever reason, and we were having a good after they left, we had a good 20-minute chat on Bollywood.
Honestly, there was no substance in that paragraph. I just thought everyone would enjoy me trying to say all those Bollywood titles.
It's amusing. Yeah.
That's a unique idea for a sitcom.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
I can give that much. So I guess it'll be her struggling and trying to get auditions. Maybe it depends if it's the start of her career, or if they go in the middle when she's already famous, and it's more about dealing with the fame. I mean, it could be either. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to say the former, just because that seems more obvious, and then you can move and progress through.
Yeah, for the comedy's sake, because Bollywood movies can be really silly, for the smaller characters. Yeah. I've not seen a lot of them. I watched one. There's some famous gifs on the internet of this action star from Bollywood who does these insane things where he'll flip cars, even though he's not meant to have superpowers, but he'll just do it, and it'll happen. And I saw a movie with this actor in it, and I can't for the life remember what it was called. but it was utterly ridiculous. It was 3 hours long. There was a few dance numbers. So they're bloated as all hell, but I can't say that I wasn't laughing at the outrageous action.
I do find interesting. Bollywood still has a star system, where it's all based around, like you come for the actor.
I'm kind of glad. There was a lot of articles this week about how that's kind of died this summer for the Western audiences, because all the films that are doing well, it's the directors that are all being noticed and praised.
Yeah.
And I think that's much better. I think that's a far better sort of
Judge
gauge
of character.
Yeah, so a far better gauge to go on than because the actors may be great,
but if you give them a poor story or it's shot badly.
Yeah, like you put a good actor in shite, they're still going to be surrounded by shite. So it's
it won't be their fault, but
yeah, it's a much better. That's not to say that directors can't decline or have a turd, because they can do, but it's less likely. If you like a director's work, you're more likely to go into their next thing and be like, yeah, okay, I like that. Now, admittedly, I say that after being somewhat disappointed with Dunkirk, but I kind of had a feeling I might be with that one because it was not my type of movie from the get go. Yeah. Anyway. So let's move on. So the HBO confirmed, they're not actually greenlit the season yet, but they did confirm that the casting for True Detective season 3 has been locked in. Mahershala Ali has been cast in the leading role. So Mahershala. I went for it quick. I thought if I say it quick enough, no one will notice if I screw it up.
We went over this like 2 weeks ago.
I know, but I have to stop and think about it, and I think that's worse. I feel like if you say it wrong but say it with confidence, that sounds much better than stopping and try to do it like slowly.
You mean like you did with all those Bollywood films 2 minutes ago?
Yeah, but that was funny though. That was funny.
It was.
Right? Whereas this, not so much. But yeah, he's been cast, which is good because he's great.
Yeah, I like him.
They also mentioned, this was at the TCAs, they were talking about all this, that True Detective Season 3 is much further along than a potential second season of The Night Of, which apparently they're wanting to do. I don't think it'll be any of the same characters, though. I think it'll be a anthology-style different thing.
Because I thought that was always billed as a limited series anyway.
I think it was at first, but I feel like now they're like, you know what, that did really well for us. We're going to... And apparently Steve Zalian, who did the first... And he wrote the entire thing. Like, he wrote every episode. And he was...
Credit to him.
Yeah. It says they want to do a second one, and it's basically an open door. They're just waiting for him to come up with the idea that he wants to do. And it's basically just when he comes and tells us it's time. Do you know what it sounds like? It sounds like Larry David with Curb Your Enthusiasm when they said, because for years they said as soon as he says he wants to do a season 9, we're doing a season 9. That was basically the attitude with that, and it sounds like the same with this.
I mean, it's a good attitude. I think we by the time we got to the end of season 3 of Fargo, we were saying maybe wait till Noah Hawley's got the idea again.
Well, I think the funny thing here, though, given that just after talking about True Detective, I think True Detective suffered because they rushed the second season a year later, and it suffered so much. The idea that they're letting Zalian just wait until he has the idea he wants to do, they'll have a similar, obviously, genre. It'll be a similar theme.
Yeah, similar theme.
Beyond that, like when he's got an idea he wants to do, that's when they'll gear up, and I think that's good. I think 2 years between seasons for a show like that feels more like an event. By all means, do it. It's
agreed, and I think it's interesting talking about True Detective there, where we're saying, oh, we got the casting, and we're like, that's cool, we like him, but most likely we were just saying that's not enough anymore with that show.
It's not.
That star and power isn't a draw.
Here's the interesting thing. They mentioned that none of the creative force behind the previous seasons was returning. It's an all-new team, which is weird because I thought Puzzolato, or whatever his name is, the guy who did season 1 and 2, I thought he was still involved, but it seems like he may not be.
Yeah, I thought he was as well. That makes me more interested because
it does, actually.
It's kind of a clean slate. So it's like, okay, right, what have you got for me?
Well, it says to me HBO just understand that True Detective as a name is a good brand, and that they just want to build a season around that name, which honestly is fine. Like, I mean, you can do a lot with a detective story.
Yeah, because I mean, I think they'll keep the brand and just the style maybe, but that's
define style. What style are we talking about here?
Well, like the pairing that they had. So it'll always be, that sort of pairing. So I think even season 2, to an extent, wasn't it?
I don't think they need that. I think if they want to go solo detective this season, I would applaud them doing something different. And I think Ali can carry it. I think give him a good villain. That's what you do.
Yeah,
Give him
yeah,
a solid villain.
that's true. I mean, they could do that. Maybe they'll surprise me. I'm just expecting the format to stay the same.
I don't know if it will, because I feel like you get bring in a different team, and you don't want to remind people of season two. I feel like you go
Mm,
really different with it. You still got a detective and there's still a crime to solve, obviously, but I feel like season two was just plodding for a lot of people, and I think they have to. I can, if anything, I see them maybe going back to season one in the sense that they might play with narrative structure
yeah.
and do things out of order. I can see them doing that more than sticking with the team thing.
Okay.
But then again, they could do
That,
still
that
do
would give it
both.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think honestly the only thing I'd want them to keep, really, if you really asked me, is make the villain creepy. Season two
Mm.
teased it for a second, but there was a guy wearing a mask at one point. I thought, oh, this is where it becomes True Detective, and then it just kind of went away.
Yeah. Okay.
No one ever talked about it because season one, like those villains, it felt like they were hunting down the devil himself for a lot of that
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And I want that feeling to be back. That is the one sort of True Detective-y thing that I would like to return. Everything else, you can do whatever you want, just make it good, whatever.
I'm intrigued. I want to see what they've got and fresh team. Yeah, man. It gives me hope.
Yeah. So, and as for Night of, obviously it'll focus on a crime that happens on one night because that's the title of the show. But from there,
They're a bit free to do what they want. Yeah.
yeah. As much as that, obviously it'll be another self-contained thing. It wouldn't amaze me though if they end up maybe getting Totoro back. Maybe just him.
Yeah, maybe as the link.
Yeah, like he can be the lawyer for the new case. Maybe they may not want to. They might want to just keep it completely separate, and that's fair if they do. But
Yeah.
you could do it with him and it not feel like it has to tie into all these plots from the first season. It's
Right.
just not.
And then you can still see character growth as well.
Yeah. But I think the reason why I am a lot more willing for these types of shows to take 2 years off between seasons or even 3 years off is because they're self-contained. I'm not. The problem with other shows is that it's like, oh no, I want to see the continuation of these characters.
Yeah,
I want to,
you're waiting on the next because
Yeah.
they typically end on a cliffhanger as well, so you're waiting on more.
Whereas this, I'm not. Like it's done, it's finished. So even if they do bring like a character back in, it's like, oh, that's just a nice, pleasant.
Right, that's it. At this moment now, it's if we never get any more, that's fine. I've got my entire story. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
If I get more, great. I've got more to look forward to. It's win-win.
All right, let's move on to all the new shows that are in development in terms of dramas and stuff. So AMC have put in development Gang Leader for a Day, which
I'm in.
is which is coming from the creator of Hand of God.
I'm out.
Based on Sudhir Vantakeshi's Vantakesh. I just need to say that quick. His best-selling book, based on his book. I just heard my cat jump off a really high spot. It was really loud in the other room.
It was, yeah.
So, yeah, Gang Leader for a Day centers on Sudhir, a wide-eyed, ambitious young grad student who enters the nation's largest public housing project to conduct a survey on what it means to be black and poor in America. He's taken captive by the notorious gangsters and the disciples, whose leader, JT, issues a challenge. If Sudhir really wants to find out about life in the projects, he needs to experience it firsthand. What follows is a 7-year odyssey through an intersection at the heart of urban American life in 1990s Chicago. Gang Leader for a Day is the tale of two worlds colliding in one city and the unlikely brotherhood forged by two strangers at the centre of it all.
I mean, it sounds interesting enough, but
Hand of God creator, push you up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a very intriguing idea. I feel like with the right talent involved, this could be a very interesting show. And it sounds autobiographical. I didn't actually say it was based on a real story there, but the fact that the character's the same guy who wrote the book makes it sound like it was an autobiography.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It makes it sound like it's based on his own experiences, and that could be interesting. But yeah, you've got this rich kid who does well at school, going to see sort of how the other half live, and then he gets sort of sucked into the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the 1990 Chicago setting as well.
Yeah, me too. That's it. Everything in that description sounds good or interesting. Like there's something I like in pretty much every sentence. But it all keeps coming back to we say all the time where if you give me a mediocre idea but you put the right people behind it. I mean, even just look at like we were just talking about True Detective. If you just describe it, it's nothing. It doesn't sound anything special. But that first season had talent that made it stand out.
Oh yeah, it was the direction and the acting that made that. The writing
Right.
itself wasn't even that great.
Right. Exactly. So here I'm going. Right, that's a great idea, but I don't trust the person at the top not to just ruin it.
That said, it's the only thing I've seen from the Hand of God creator, and we only watched one episode, so you never know. Maybe he's growing, maybe he's getting
Possible.
better. All right, next up, Fox 21 Television Studios has acquired the TV rights to Apollo 8, the best-selling book from Time magazine editor Jeffrey Kluger, who also co-authored Apollo 13, which obviously got turned into a movie. So based on the true story of Apollo 8 then. So no network as of yet, but set against a disastrous year for the country that saw Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy assassinated while the nation was reeling from the Tet Offensive in Vietnam. Yeah, there's a show about that coming up, I think. If I recall correctly from previous weeks. Apollo 8 tells the story of a secret plan that NASA hatched in August 1968 to have Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders become the first men to orbit the moon and see the far side. So, no, it sounds... It sounds like... it's actually funny. It's one of two NASA shows coming up on this week's news, by the way. There's another one later.
Oh, I'm excited. I like NASA.
I do enjoy about NASA. I like the sound of this. It's interesting that he's done Apollo 13 and 8. You feel like 11 would be the one you go to first because it's the moon landing.
Yeah, because I mean, eight's the first crude leaving Earth's atmosphere, so there's something there.
Oh sure, yeah. I'm not saying it's not a big achievement. I just think it's funny that he's done two books about Apollo missions and neither of them were 11. I just think that's kind of
No, no.
curious.
I wonder if 11's almost the boring one because everyone knows that one.
Yeah, that's fair. 13's the very disastrous one, and then maybe this one because it was the first time actually getting
Eight's
into the...
eight's the achievement of something first.
Yes. Was it the first time they actually left the atmosphere?
No, left Earth's orbit.
Right, okay, I see what you said. Yeah, because I was going to say the other one later.
His achievement as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it sounds fine. Yeah, again, all of it based on talent, but the idea it almost feels kind of like I'll say this about the other one actually because I actually had this thought when I was thinking about the other show that I'm going to mention up a bit sooner. In fact, not next, but the next one after. Anyway, but it's kind of like almost like Glow or a sports movie or anything like. It's the same kind of idea where you're training for the whole story till the big thing at the end that you're hoping to achieve.
Mm.
And I think that works well in TV form because you actually have time to develop all the characters, and I'm sure we'll get to know all these astronauts and their lives and like the dangers of going, all the training involved. Like I can see an entire episode being devoted to like them getting used to not throwing up in the the simulator and all the rest of it. Like I can see all the... I can kind of see it in my head how they can progress it.
I wonder if they had the vomit comic back then. I'm not sure when that was introduced.
I have no idea. They definitely had it. I think they definitely had it for 13. I seem to recall Apollo 13 having scenes with it. I think, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Look at him googling. He's over there trying to slip it. You can bring it back up when we get to the next Apollo show. HBO has given the green light to a miniseries about the Chernobyl disaster. Jared Harris has been cast in it, which is pretty cool. He's good. Chernobyl is a 5-part look at the scientists and others who sacrificed themselves to spare the world from a broader disaster in April 1986 when the reactor exploded at the Chernobyl nuclear plant in Ukraine. So that's not bad. I like the sound of this. I actually kind of like the idea of doing a Chernobyl show.
Yeah, me too. I think it's one of those subjects that I think I find fascinating. It's one of those events that's just... It's one of those events that's changed the world.
And I don't think I ever really knew that much about it beyond, Reactor Blue, and obviously Chernobyl's like a, it looks like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah, it's a death zone.
But like, I don't think I'd ever considered, it could have been worse. Like, so I like the idea of getting a story of like, this is what was avoided and how
Yeah, I
bad
like
it
it
could
being
have
a
went.
5-part series. That sounds right. This is going to be tight.
Aye, no, that's good. So this is good. I like the sound of it. So it's expected to come next year. All right, that'll take us on back to the other space NASA one. Although this one I have some more familiarity with because I've seen the movie that was this already made of this in the 80s. It's called The Right Stuff. And it's Leonardo DiCaprio who's producing this at National Geographic, of all places. But they're doing scripted content now. And so it's based on the 79 book by Tom Wolfe. It tells the story of the US fighter pilots who were tested, who were tested and then tested the early aircraft and rockets that became the foundation for the American space program and the first of the Mercury astronauts. And I have seen the movie. The movie came out in 1983, and it's funny because I thought the movie was good, but I thought there was so many characters that I never really got attached to any of them. So the idea of this being like a season actually is kind of intriguing.
Okay, I never seen the movie, but I'm definitely down. Sounds interesting.
It's basically the story of how all this was theoretical and no one had ever done it. So everything's like the first so everything like just getting up there is like the first attempt on it. So it's like, okay, that's like what do we even test for this? Who like, and obviously fighter pilots were where they went, but it's like they all go in, they all take these tests to see how fit they are and all the rest of it. But there's a real sense of like they're just kind of going into the unknown.
At that point, NASA was still, it was a very new agency. So a lot of it was military at the time. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and obviously they were falling behind Russia in the space race, and that's why they were determined to get it done.
And do you know what? We might actually see them using the Vomit Comet.
Oh, when did the Vomit Comet?
Because I googled it. Wikipedia, the first image on Wikipedia is the Project Mercury astronauts training on it in 1959.
There you go.
So we may actually see the Vomit Comet in this show.
Interesting. 10 years before the moon landing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's all it took from.
It's a phenomenal point of human history, isn't it?
What are we doing now that's even remotely as impressive as that?
Nothing. That's it.
Man, that's what competition does.
Joe, I was reading about Project Horizon earlier, which I don't know if you've heard of it. It was it was like 65, I think it was. All the documents got declassified in the last couple of years.
It's been long enough that they all, yeah.
Right, and it was basically they wanted to have a moon base.
Oh, what a moon base! Do a moon base. It's a great idea.
Right, exactly. And this was before they'd even got to the moon that they wanted this. And you just have to go, oh man, the balls on these people.
Yeah. Well, we're getting closer and closer to a commercial space flight, so once we get to that point and it's like more common to go in and out of the atmosphere, that's when we can start thinking about a moon base, because we can actually travel to and from it with relative ease.
But imagine if like NASA had the same sort of budget, equivalent budget to what they did then.
Competition. Seriously.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. That's it. You need someone to beat.
We just need probably China to say, you know what? We're building a moon base and we're claiming it as ours. And that's when the US go, hold on a minute, NASA?
That's it. China are getting into the space stuff at the moment. Like they're just getting their handle on it.
It's interesting stuff. Space racing and all that stuff, I do find fascinating. It is an interesting subject to me.
Yeah,
so
same.
I am down for these shows. It's funny that we're getting two of them in development, but they may not both make it to series. One of them might end up falling away. But
yeah, and they do have different focuses at least.
Yeah, they do. Different parts of the whole thing.
It's interesting though. They do seem to be the kind of similar themes that the characters will be tackling.
Probably. Although the Apollo 8 one seems like it's going to link it more into the time as well, because it mentioned all the other like stuff that was going on in the news. So maybe we'll see kind of we need to achieve something because the world's so shite right now. We need to feel like we've accomplished something good.
Well, that's it. By that point, the conflict with Russia in the space was a lot like it's actually going. Like that's it. Like the race is on. Whereas here, Project Mercury, it's kind of just getting started.
And actually, I watched earlier in the year. I saw Hidden Figures, and there's a whole thing. They get their first computer at NASA.
It's just giant.
it's an entire room. It's all
Yeah.
these there's those tape recorder looking things. It's just all over the place, and they can't figure out how to use it. Like the technicians are like baffled by how you operate this damn thing. Now, to be fair, so would I be looking at this thing. I'd be like, "Where's my desktop? Where's my start menu? What's going on?" Oh dear.
This doesn't look like Windows.
I mean, there's a lot of windows on the devices, but not not those kind of windows. But it's funny because it comes from IBM. It's just funny that there was a time when IBM was the powerhouse. They were the place that people went.
I mean, that lasted for a long time, right up till like maybe the early 90s. They were still a technological
Sure, but
powerhouse.
who talks about them now though?
No, now they're irrelevant.
Yeah, so there we go. All right, so there you go. That's some fun stuff. Next up, TNT. Is have greenlit it? They've greenlit it straight to series, so we're getting a season of this no matter what. Patty Jenkins and Chris Pine are reteaming. Obviously, they just did Wonder Woman together. Patty's going to be producing. She's going to direct the pilot, and she might do more episodes, but certainly the pilot. So not all of it. Probably because she's working on Wonder Woman 2, I imagine, by the time this gets going. And Pine's going to star in it. But that's it. It's only 6 episodes, so
No, okay.
so it might not take him away from the. I mean, I love what happened in the movie, but there's still rumours of him being in the second one for some reason. But yeah, so 6 episodes, TNT, and it is called One Day She'll Darken. Took me a second to find that there.
It's a
So,
strange title, grammatically speaking.
yeah. So it's based on a book, because of course it is, because everything's based on a book now on TV. Fauna Hoddle wrote the book, it's an autobiography. Sam Sheridan's going to write the script based on the book. 6 episodes. One Day She'll Darken tells the story of Hoddle, who was. I'm just trying to second guess myself if I pronounced that correctly. Hodel. Hoddle.
One D.
1D. Hoddle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just checking. Tells the story of Hodel, who was given away by her teenage birth mother to a black restroom attendant in a Nevada casino in 1949. As Hodel begins to investigate the secrets to her past, she follows a sinister trail that swirls even closer to an infamous Hollywood gynecologist, Dr. George Hodel, a man involved in the darkest Hollywood debauchery. I love where this goes. See, when I started this paragraph, I never expected it to go here. Do you recognise that name, George Hodel?
I do not.
You don't, right? The man involved in the legendary Black Dahlia murder of Elizabeth Short in Los Angeles in 1947. So at first it's like, oh, it's a girl looking for her father or looking for her past, and then he's a goddamn killer or connected to a killer. Black Dahlia, I have an unfortunate past with that because my only familiarity is that I watched the Brian De Palma movie about 10 years ago, and while he used to make great films, that time had passed, and that movie was boring as hell to get through. So hopefully this is a much more fascinating exploration of it, and I think it might be because it's all set after the fact, and it'll be like her digging up details and like discovering
Complete as
stuff.
an investigation.
Yeah. So I see this being interesting. Next up, Showtime has picked up a new show, which is being produced by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Which interesting, although the last show that went to Sci-Fi Incorporated, which had potential, but ultimately we were kind of bored by it.
Yeah,
by
it
episode
started strong, but
so yeah, it's called City on a Hill, and it's based on an original idea by Affleck and Chuck McLean, who wrote the script. City on a Hill is a fictional account of what is called the Boston Miracle. In the early 90s, corruption and racism was the norm in Boston until an African-American district attorney from Brooklyn arrives in the city advocating change. He forms an unlikely alliance with a corrupt yet venerated FBI agent who's invested. I was convinced that was investigating, but the rest of the sentence didn't make sense. Who is invested in maintaining the status quo. So, this guy doesn't want to change anything, but this guy who's trying to change this corrupt system and what's going on in the city. The two take on a family of armoured car robbers in a case that eventually upends the city's criminal justice system. So, fictionalised version of a kind of thing that actually happened.
sounds pretty good.
Sounds not bad. I think it's funny that we have two 90s period pieces in the works. Again, not a twos. We had two NASA shows. There two 90s.
Yeah.
Sort of,
I mean, I feel like TV does this, where every year there's kind of something that crops up as that's the theme for the year. Like last year, there was all the time travel stuff.
Okay, yeah, there was that last year. I actually think of this way more with movies, though. There's a lot of pairs in movies that seem to come out around the same time.
Yeah.
It's way more common. Got your Volcano and Dante's Peak, your Armageddon and Deep Impact, all those.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting how people seem to go, right, that's what we want, but they seem to develop independently and just happen to all come out at the same time.
I don't think that's how it works with movies, actually. I think one studio hears what another studio's doing and then they rush to get something out.
Yeah.
There was that famous example. Battle LA, and then there was another one, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but it was someone who worked in that, in the effects, left, and actually basically joined the other one and basically rushed it out quicker with a smaller budget so they could be out first. I can't remember what it was called now, that's going to bug me. I never saw Battle LA, and even though I thought the concept was cool, it sounded like it was a disaster. Everyone seemed to hate it.
That story is a film waiting to be made.
The film behind it.
You can see it though, can't you? The race to beat them. There's the competition there.
I feel like it's not that interesting though. It's probably just this really scummy, quick, rushed production, and then.
Yeah, but it's a film. They'll make it interesting. They'll fictionalize it up and glam it up a bit.
Sure, we'll see. Next up, there's not a lot of information on this one. There's no title. There's hardly a description.
It's been a while since we've got something without a title.
There's no network. We have two actors. We have Jennifer Aniston and we have Reese Witherspoon. And they're teaming up for an untitled show that will focus on a New York morning show. And it's going to be shot to network soon. But given the names, I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, I mean, tell me when we've got something to go on, please. But okay, I like them.
Morning show. They're going to be hosts for a morning TV show. That'll be what goes on behind things happening and all that.
That's what I assume. Yeah, which I mean, it could be fun.
A lot untitled one coming up for you. NBC is developing an untitled series that will be set in Baltimore and follows a newly elected African-American female mayor, her female chief of staff, and... It doesn't say female again, but I've got a feeling it's also a female district attorney. I feel like that's the premise of the show, is you've got...
It does, doesn't it?
You've got women in all these roles. I feel like that's what the point of the show is. That's just an interesting idea. But as they work for good in one of America's most dangerous cities. Yeah, there wasn't much to the description. Interestingly, one of the stars from The Orville, which is one of the new shows coming up this season, is producing this show. Doesn't seem to be in it, but it's producing it. So it's funny that she's got a role on like a main network show, but she's also producing something that will maybe come next season. So
yeah, I think my problem is it sounds very procedural. Potentially,
it does as well. If it's serialized, I'll be more interested. But it's on NBC. I'm not really.
NBC has the potential to go either way. I think
it does. I feel like that they're. I feel like they've been slowly transitioning towards more procedural over the last few years.
Yeah, and this idea just sounds... I mean, like the premise is solid, but it sounds like, right, what case can they all team up on this week?
Yeah. The only one that maybe says no to that is the mayor. I feel like the mayor's the one that makes it feel like it could be more serialized because it has to be more of these ongoing things that are happening in the city.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't procedural that, but it feels like, to me, if you're going to have the mayor, like a main character, you have to.
No, I know what you're saying.
But anyway, that's going into the last news story of the week. Starz has given a series order to a drama thriller called The Rook. From Stephanie Meyer, the author of Twilight. She didn't write it though, she's just producing it, so that's
okay,
worth something, because it's based on a novel. Not by her, by Daniel O'Malley. Rook will follow a young woman who wakes up in a London park, suffering from amnesia and surrounded by bodies, all wearing latex gloves. As she attempts to uncover her past and her role as head of Britain's supernatural secret service, she discovers she has peculiar abilities, all while being pursued by paranormal adversaries.
I'm so into this. This sounds incredible.
Do you know, it starts off sounding like that Blind Spot that's on NBC.
Yeah.
Wakes up amnesia, right? And then it's like, and they're all wearing latex gloves, and I'm like,
Okay.
Why are they all wearing latex gloves? This is weird. This is some kinky, weird fetish game thing. It's like, as she attempts to uncover her past, she has the lead role in Britain's supernatural secret service.
And that's what I was sort. Do you know what? I was watching QI this week, and I learned that when you get amnesia, you don't. That whole thing that you to my head where you forget who you are. It's not true. Amnesia. Do you know all it is? Amnesia is Memento, where you can't make new memories.
Yeah.
That's just amnesia. I was like, mind blown, because everything in TV and film is, forget who you are, forget your name, all that. It's all bollocks.
Yeah, well, they're probably just using a different. I mean, there probably is a condition where you do forget everything. It's just not. But they've picked amnesia is what they call it, and they're just running with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but it's so ingrained in everyone's mind that's what amnesia is. But
so why the hell in Memento didn't Nolan do some research and call it amnesia?
I have no idea.
Maybe it's not exactly amnesia. Maybe you're comparing it to Memento, but maybe it's not quite the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was specifically saying amnesia is just you just don't make new memories. You remember everything before, like you don't forget anything there. You just don't remember anything.
Yeah, but
new.
You don't keep amnesia typically, though, do you?
I mean, no, I guess it's not long term. A couple of weeks, maybe.
Yeah, it's always, it seems to be something you always get over. So maybe that's why Memento is not amnesia, because it's permanent.
Well, yeah, I just meant I just likened it more to that, just because the idea of where he can't make the new memories is amnesia.
I'm just poking holes in your thing. It's like the outlines in the bodies, like they don't do that. That's complete bollocks.
But see, that one I get, but like amnesia, that one blew my mind. So it's like that's everywhere.
There's tons of stuff like that, though.
There is.
Like the amount of times like characters get knocked out in movies, you don't just easily get knocked out and then wake up fine. Like if you get knocked out, you've probably got a concussion. Like
probably
you're in serious. Yeah, you're in serious trouble if you get knocked out. Yeah, this is an interesting one I learned actually. Most sprinkler systems don't all turn on at once. Like they have like a little thing in it that breaks when it detects the fire, and only that one will turn on.
Yeah. So the whole building isn't ruined.
But almost every movie or TV show where they set off the sprinklers, everything goes.
Yeah, I knew that one.
Yeah, so, there's lots of stupid things like that. You just kind of accept it, it's fine.
Yes.
Don't be a Debbie Downer. That's what I'm saying. Alright, that's us. So, I guess, favourite episode of TV of the week? It was Twin Peaks, obviously. So...
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, I know last week I picked Game of Thrones because Twin Peaks had a down episode. Obviously, this week Twin Peaks had a much better episode. So
it did. It was a fantastic episode of Twin Peaks.
But I do want to say Game of Thrones actually had a better episode as well. So it was a bit more fair on like if last week that had been that episode of Game of Thrones this episode of Game of Thrones was that episode of Twin Peaks, I would have had an easier choice.
Well, of course, you already picked Game of Thrones last week, so obviously
I know.
Obviously, that was an easier choice. That was a convoluted description of something for nothing.
I'm saying that man. Episode 2 of Game of Thrones, like that was much better. Last week, I kind of was like, I guess Game of Thrones, but I wasn't sure. But if it had been this episode, would have been a much easier choice.
Yeah, and if it had been my favourite episode of this show, it would have beat this episode of that show. Well, of course it would have been.
I'm not saying favourites, I'm just saying, a week apart.
I'm just saying how stupid this comparison is. We're comparing this week's episodes.
Look, the point of this is to say that even though I'm back to picking Twin Peaks, Game of Thrones was better than last week, even though I picked it last week.
Aye, but you made that point already. You made that point like 5 minutes ago now.
Well,
just look.
The point is, it wasn't bloody Ozark.
Convoluted description. It was just convoluted. That's all that was. It was a convoluted mess.
Look, it wasn't Ozark, and that's what counts.
It was not Ozark. Oh, if I'd watched Game of Thrones, I'd have put Ozark over Game of Thrones probably. So, there you go. That is this week's video, which went way longer than I was expecting. But there you go. So that has been this week's TV news. Let us know what you think of all this week's news and stuff in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. And that is us. Oh, Patreon. Go to patreon.com/milefuzztv if you want to support the channel and everything we do here and potentially get more stuff. So there you go. Thank you very much. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla? We're out.